Hey everybody, and Tony here with the review of Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker, which I saw at the Kungliga Operan. The conductor was Philip Ellis. The production, concept, and choreography were done by Per Isberg and Erik Näslund after Elsa Beskow and Ernest Theodor Hoffmann. The scenography was handled by Bo Ruden Hedvall. The costumes were done by Anne-Marie Antilla, and the lights were handled by Torkel Blomqvist. Now, this is the first time I've seen a different adaptation of Tchaikovsky's classic ballet, The Nutcracker, because the one I am really familiar with starts off usually with the house of the Stahlbaum family, consisting of Herr and Frau Stahlbaum and their children, older daughter Clara and younger son Fritz, and in some productions, the eldest daughter Louise, the godfather being Herr Drosselmeyer, and of course, all the elements of the three dancing dolls, the Nutcracker doll, and of course, the Spanish chocolate, Chinese tea, Arabian coffee, French mirlitons, the Waltz of the Flowers, Mother Jigon, and her little dolls, and all of these other elements that really make the classic Nutcracker production. But instead of having the usual Stahlbaum family consisting of Clara and Fritz, and in some productions, eldest daughter Louise, we are then treated to twin orphans in the form of Lotte and Peter, and they're basically being looked after by the Drosselmeyer, Uncle Blue, the nanny, the charcoal burner, the latter two being served as the elder sister and older brother figure to Lotte and Peter respectively, and of course the three aunties, Auntie Brown, Auntie Lavender, and Auntie Green, who also serve as comic reliefs but also very loving mother figures to the children. And they also set the entire action in what I presume to be a foster home in the form of a huge cabin where all the children come into play. And there were also some variations to certain scenes, like instead of having the traditional puppet scene consisting of the foreshadowing occurring with Clara, the Nutcracker Prince, and the Mouse King, we are then treated to the charcoal burner and Uncle Blue coming in as the Christmas goats, which are basically traditional Nordic Christmas figures. And instead of having the dances of the Harlequin and Columbine, we are then treated to a complete production number done by the children and the adults. And instead of having the dance of either the Moor or the two twin devils, we are then treated to the dance of the Goatman. And instead of having the Nutcracker doll, we are then treated to an actual Nutcracker but with the head of a goat. And instead of just having Clara alone in her dreams with the Nutcracker Prince, we are then treated to Lotte and Peter, thus encountering the Mouse King and even encountering their precious Nutcracker being burnt in the furnace only to come out alive as the prince. And what's also interesting is that the charcoal burner and the nanny have counterparts akin to the Cavalier and the Sugar Plum Fairy in the form of course, the prince and his Sugar Plum Princess. And instead of having the usual Spanish chocolate and Chinese tea and all that stuff, the Spanish chocolate is then transformed to two dancing gingerbread cookies. The Chinese tea is replaced by having dancing candy canes. Arabian coffee is replaced by having the sleepwalking aunties, which I found so hilarious. The Russian trepak was replaced with the dancing Christmas crackers. The dance of the flutes or the mirlitons was replaced by Peter dancing with the tamed rats with red ballet shoes. And they still managed to keep the Waltz of the Flowers. But what I also found very interesting is that they managed to keep parts of the Cavalier and Sugar Plum Fairy pas de deux, which I always preferred it to be done by the Nutcracker Prince and Clara, since it's after all Clara's dream anyway, which was kind of a shame because we could have loved to even have a counterpart done not only by the prince and the Sugar Plum Princess, but also have Peter and Lotte participate in not just what's going to be a pas de deux, but also a pas de quatre, which would have been very interesting. And the ballet ends instead of having Clara wake up from her dream and having her beloved Nutcracker doll in her arms We see Lotte, Peter, the aunties, Uncle Blue, the nanny, and the charcoal burner board a sleigh and head to church on Christmas Day, which I found really sweet. So, my thoughts on the entire production was that it was really interesting all throughout, and it was a very cute production all throughout, very charming. And instead of having the usual coming of age story for Clara, it's then treated to the mind of a child's dreams and what he sees in the world around him, especially when it comes to the holidays and all the goodies that children want to see, which I think really emphasized this production of the Nutcracker overall. And it has definitely become one of my recent favorites as I managed to come into this production with a completely open mind and absolutely enjoyed it from beginning to end. And this was definitely a very charming, sweet, and dare I say, very fun production and adaptation of Tchaikovsky's classic. Now we get to the dancers, starting off with our two children, Lotte and Peter, done by Kaho Yanagisawa and Soo Kim. Kaho Yanagisawa as Lotte was really charming, very girlish, and very sweet as Lotte. And from what I can tell, she does seem to be very young, and she seems to have a very bright future as a prima ballerina. She has the overall grace, the overall sweetness, and the overall girlishness that makes her define this particular role. But from what I can tell from her performance, there is so much potential with this particular young ballerina that I would love to see her take the stages in a lot of the international ballet theaters. And as I stated before, she has a very bright future, especially with roles like Princess Aurora from Sleeping Beauty, Giselle, one of the main characters of Les Sylphides, or even a lot of these prima ballerina roles, including the likes of Odette and the Black Swan from Swan Lake. But for now, she is a young dancer with so much promise, and she really knows how to handle her technique with lots of charm and vivacity. Soo Kim as Peta was really charming, and he had a lot of fun with this particular role. And just like his counterpart, Kaho Yanagisawa, he also has a very grand future ahead of him. And their chemistry as the twins was just so lovely, so palpable, and it was just really charming watching these two really grace the stage with their overall charm and innocence. And they just had really excellent chemistry and great futures ahead of them. Stealing the show were definitely The Nanny and the Charcoal Burner, done by Sarah Jane Brodbeck and Daniel Norgren-Jensen. They had excellent chemistry in the second act when they did their counterparts, the Prince and the Sugar Plum Princess. You could definitely tell that these two had a lot of experience in doing all of these leading roles, and it made me wonder if those two also did the roles of the Nutcracker Prince and Clara respectively. Going to Daniel Norgren-Jensen, he was very dashing and handsome on stage and really graceful. He was able to embody this character with charm and youthfulness, that he was able to be so charming, so elegant, and so handsome on stage that I was practically having my eyes glued to him. Sarah Jane Brodbeck as both the nanny and the Sugar Plum Princess was really, really fun and gorgeous to watch. She was rollickingly funny as the nanny when she walloped the Mouse King with her broom, which I thought was really hilarious, but it was a definite testament to how great of an actress Madame Brodbeck really was. And she was just so lovely as the Sugar Plum Princess that her experience as a prima ballerina was in pure evidence in this particular role. Heck, all I can say is that the experience that both Daniel Norgren-Jensen and Sarah Jane Broadbeck have as prime danseur and prima ballerina respectively was in total evidence. You could feel the chemistry that these two have. You could feel the absolute charm oozing out of their performances, and their professionalism shone like the brightest stars. They were definitely the stars of the evening, and they really stole the show all throughout. Uncle Blue, who was performed by Bence Jansula, managed to combine charm and virility into this particular role. He was a lot of fun to watch as this particular Uncle Drosselmeyer figure on stage, and he did the role such justice with such virility, charm, and grace. He really knew how to take control of the stage, and his stage presence as Uncle Blue was really commanding, but at the same time very graceful, balanced out with a great amount of virility. The three aunties Brown, Green, and Lavender, were also great show stealers, and they were done by Frida Hambreos, Emma Grandin, and Daria Ivanova. These prima ballerinas were absolutely wonderful. And in fact, the three aunties almost remind me of Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather from Disney's Sleeping Beauty, and all of these wonderful trios of ladies, whether they be the three ladies from Magic Flute, the three nymphs, Naiade, Dryade, and Echo from Strauss's Ariadne auf Naxos, and a lot of these other trios of ladies from different installments, whether they be hilarious or charming or quite dramatic or all of the above. Their chemistry as the three aunties was just so well done. I had a lot of fun with these three awesome ballerinas as the auntie figures, and their sleepwalking scene, which is basically a replacement of the Raven Coffee, was really well done and quite hilarious to watch. You could definitely tell that these ballerinas were so professional in their craft, and they really knew how to have fun in these roles. Then we have the Mouse King, done by Jonathan Davidson, who combined grace, virility, and intimidation into this villainous role, and he danced his role with such pure virility, pure action, and you could definitely feel that virility and grace ooze out of his every pore, and he was just wonderful as a performer. Minji Nam as the head snow fairy was absolutely gorgeous. She was an absolute charmer on stage, and she headed her troupe of snow fairies with grace, charm, beauty, and pure elegance. She dominated the stage with elegance and charm that she was so captivating. We even had a lot of great dancing from Devin Carbone, Elena Zagrebina, Andrei Leonovich, Sandra Gerden, Claes Lindbom, Moe Nieda, Pascal Jansson, Alicia Brach, Pampus Graufen, Mayumi Yamaguchi, Katarina Edling, Callum Loden, Kisa Nakashima, Michelle Murphy, Preston McBain, Mackenzie Farquhar, Nacho Lopez, Gabriel Baranengoa, Nina Jürgen Stövind, Oscar Eckerström, Daniel Sedano Said, Eric Rundqvist, and Frei Ruhl, and their ensemble dancing was absolutely excellent. And I even love their pet dog on stage, who was just really, really charming. So overall, the dancers' performances were excellent all around, especially when you go to the leads done by Seo Kim and Kaho Yanagisawa, as these two have very bright futures ahead of them. And the conducting done by Maestro Philip Ellis was really well done. He paid close attention to the text, and the orchestra went together, especially the chorus for the Snow Fairies. Everyone went together so flawlessly. So overall, this adaptation of Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker was so charming, so fun, and really cute all around, combined with a very colorful and, simply put, magical production, excellent and professional dancing, and even fine conducting done by Maestro Philip Ellis. One has an evening that one will never forget. And for those of you who have caught this particular production of the Nutcracker, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Was there a dancer who stood out to you the most? Was there a scene in this particular production that stood out to you the most? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in later for my review of the Christmas and New Year's concert performed by Courtney Ross. So until then, have a great evening, everybody, and Happy New Year!